And Jim. Jim, thank you, Rusty. The invocation today will be given by Libby Gober.
I ask that you pray in your faith as I do in mine. Most gracious God, we humbly bow before you, thanking you for our many blessings. Lord, make us ever mindful of the possibility for us to gather freely here and appreciate those who came before us, and thankful that we live in a country where we can gather without fear. We ask that you bless this food before us to the nourishment of our bodies and our bodies to your service. We ask that you help us as Rotarians and as human beings to accept the diversities among us and use it to make us stronger and not divide us. Never let us forget where these blessings come from and take them for granted, and never let us forget who provides these blessings to us. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Libby. You may be seated. Libby, thank you for pulling double duty today. And Libby's also past foundation chair of our club and a current board member. So thank you, Libby, for all you're doing for Columbia Rotary. Now to welcome our visiting Rotarians and guests, Adam Jordan.
Good afternoon. We have one visiting Rotarian today, Gene Reeder from the 5 Points Club. Gene, welcome. Several guests today, so if you have a guest, would you please stand up and introduce them? Jeff Griffin's going to bring the microphone around.
I'm Wayne Fields. Can you hear me? No. Okay, so hear me now? Okay, I'm Wayne Fields, a member of the club here, and I have two guests today. One is our director at Oliver Gosser's our director of Stewardship Services and Public Relations, Beth Well, many of you know. And the other is Carrie Heffron. She's going to be eventually being the director of our women's program that you'll be hearing more about today.
I'm Carrie Powers, and I have with me Jenny Kuhn, and she is with Watch TV.
I'm actually stealing the mic and doing your job. I went to Bob and said, would you make an announcement? I'm having a drop-in tonight. He said, why don't you do it? So I'm doing it. I'm having a drop-in tonight for Cameron Runyon at my home. If anybody's interested in coming, just check with me after the meeting. Jim.
I had my guest, Clint Lassiter. He went to DC, recently moved here from Milledgeville, Georgia, setting up his practice at the Northwestern Mutual.
I'm Allison Hank, and I have a guest here with me today, Lynn Walsh. Many of y'all may know her. She is a very active Wofford alumni.
Actually, I have a guest today, Brad Wright. Here, Brad is an attorney with the McNair Law Firm. Finally, speaking of guests, if you did not receive a VIP pass at our meeting the other day, please see me afterwards. I'll be sitting right over here.
Yeah, there is such thing as a free lunch. Go find Adam after the meeting if you don't have a VIP pass. For health and happiness, we have Bob Moore.
A couple of announcements regarding money. Alston Wilkes Society has received a $4.5 million grant over a 3-year period to help veterans. And Midlands Tech has received a $1.2 million grant from an alumni to support the Quick Plus Jobs program, I believe, and the soft skills training. So let's give them a hand. Fellow Rotarian Mike Bruce had surgery this morning to reattach a tendon that he injured on his right arm recently. He's doing well, so just give him his God's breath. Well, a lot's been going on with the Pope in America. There's been a lot of talk about Catholic Church and religious things. There was this young couple that got married by a Catholic priest, and he went to visit them on their first anniversary, and he sat down with them and he said, "Do you have any children yet?" And they said, "No, Father, no children." He came back on the second anniversary and he said, "Do you have any children yet?" They said, "No, Father, no children." He came back to visit them on third anniversary and he asked the same question, "Do you have any children yet?" "No, Father, we have no children." I said, "Well, I'll tell you what," I said, I've been reassigned. I've been reassigned to Rome. And I will be at the Vatican. And while I'm there, I will take a candle. It will be blessed by the Pope. It will burn 24 hours a day in St. Peter's Cathedral. And prayers will go up constantly that you may have children. And she said, "That's very nice, Father." So he left. He was gone 3 years, came back. Went to see the couple again. Wife answered the door. Been gone 3 years. Said, "Do you have any children yet?" Said, "Yes, Father, we have children." Said, "How many?" "We have 6. Said, "The first year you were gone, we had the birth of a son. And the second year you were gone, we had twin daughters. And the third year you were gone, we've had triplets." He said, "That's wonderful. I must congratulate your husband." Said, "He's not here." Said, "Where is he?" Said, "He's gone to Rome, blow out that damn candle." These two good old boys from Georgia were in Rome and they visited the Vatican. They found themselves in St. Peter's Square. It was packed, crowds, shoulder to shoulder. They didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, they heard trumpets. They looked down at the far end. And out on the balcony came this man dressed resplendently in robes with all kind of gold brocade and a gold hat upon his head. And he looks at the crowd and they cheer. They cheer like they've never heard cheering before. And they didn't know what was going on. And so they turned to somebody next to him and said, "Look at that guy up there. Look at the house he lives in. Look at what he's dressed in." He said, "Who is that?" And the guy next to him said, "That's the Pope." "My gosh," he said. He said, "How did he get to be the Pope?" And they said, "Well, you know, the Cardinals elected him." "My," he said, "my, the Cardinals elected him." And he turned to his friend and said, look at that house he lives in, all these people cheering, the trumpets." Said, "The Cardinals did that for him." And his friend said, "Yeah, why didn't the Braves do something like that for Hank Aaron?" One of the interesting things to me, the Pope's visit I thought was amazing. Did any of you watch any part of that? A lot of people did. And he drove around. He rode in this little black Fiat. And to me that was just amazing. The Fiat was an amazing thing. And I watched as he drove on Washington in the Fiat. I watched as they drove him to the Edwards Air Force Base in that little black Fiat. And he got on the plane. Jet plane took him to New York. Helicopters took him into the city. And when he got in the city, he got in that little black Fiat. Now let me tell you something. I don't know how far it is from Washington to New York, but but somebody drove like hell to get that little black field. One of the most amazing things about the Pope's visit, he addressed the joint session of Congress. I watched, and his theme was cooperate for the common good. Cooperate for the common good. I know that all of them heard that with their ears, but I hope they heard that with their hearts. And I hope we hear that message too, so that in the places in which we have influence in this community and beyond, we shall hear those words, the common good, the common good, cooperate. Thank you.
We now have the privilege to induct new members, and I'm going to call forward past President Bob Crutchfield for this honor. We have, I think, 7 new members today to induct, and we're looking forward to learning more about each of them.
If those inductees and their sponsors will come forward and line up at the length of this table. One point I'll make before we start. Bob Orem, who I think is the best we ever had in health and happiness, but I just want you to know, 30 years ago when I moved here, he was pastor of Ashland United Methodist Church. Do I have to tell you why I joined Ashland United Methodist Church? Great minister, great to listen to. Today, we're doing something kind of unusual. We have 7 new members being installed, or former members that are coming back. Matter of fact, if I gave a quiz on who the sponsors are versus the members, I'm not sure you would get all this right. But we're going to try to. But I want to say one more thing too. This doesn't just happen. This is a lot of work. We've never, in the history, I've been in this club for 30 years, I've never seen us induct this many people. And Adam Jordan, Adam, stand up for just a second. I know you were up here a minute ago, but Adam, who I had the pleasure of sponsoring when he came in the club, his dad's a long-term Rotarian as well, he's in charge of membership. And he is excited about it. There's a spark about it. Any questions you have, he can answer. Anybody you want to refer, please see him and give Adam a nice hand for what he's doing. Okay, Jim Hamilton, if you'll step forward, please, sir. So y'all would have thought he was a sponsor because Jim's been in this club for a long time. But Jim is, Jim, so I don't say something wrong, I'll put my glasses on here. Okay, Jim is obviously married, and he goes by Jim. His wife's name is Patricia. He's got 4 adult children. He lives on Winston Road in Columbia. He has got 15 years previous service with this club. He retired as the CEO and the president of Owens Field. I didn't know he was born in Atlanta, but he was. He was board chairman for the State Aeronautics Commission and been on that board for many, many years. Salvation Army board member for many, many years. I could see him today ringing the Salvation Army bell. We both became even better friends there. But the thing that I remember him most for is probably what he's done for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And a lot of this I know simply because my son Tommy was president of that for a while, and he told me some things that Jim did. But Jim shared with me the other day that he had somebody, a kid that, and these children died of cancer. He had a child that his favorite team was the New York Yankees, never had seen him. Jim, in his private plane at his own expense, flew the kid, took him to a New York Yankees game. There was a small girl Jim was telling me about, and there's many, but just to tell you a couple. Back when Reagan was in office, I think they were redoing the statue, or refurbishing the Statue of Liberty, and this gal went out and collected coins and somehow got back to the White House, and Reagan invited her to the White House, and Jim flew her and her family to the White House at his own expense. And that's the kind of guy we got coming back. You know, the highest civil honor that you can have in the state is the Order of the Palmetto. He doesn't have one, he's got 2, and they're from 2 different governors. Jim is, his classification is going to be aviation retired. And I might add, there's 25, 30 things I could tell you about him that we just obviously don't have the time to do. His sponsor is Elliot Powell. Please welcome Jim Hamilton back in the club. And I probably should have said when Jim got out, he was dealing with some health issues, and just thrilled to death to have him back. Heather Smith, if you'll stand forward. Heather is, she's married. Her husband's name is Andrew. They live on Withens Road in Columbia. Her employer is Southern Strategy Group. She's a partner and a lobbyist. Offices over in Gervais. She attended John Carroll University. She's got an undergrad degree from the University of South Carolina in public relations. She's a partner in the firm that I spoke to you about a second ago. She's founder of the Race for the Case, a suitcase drive to collect suitcases for kids in foster care. She's a graduate of Leadership South Carolina. She's a member of the National Society of Collegiate Scholars. She's a member of the Golden Key International Honor Society, and she's a member of Kappa Tau Alpha. Her hobbies are running. Her family is Andrew John Campbell Smith, Lydia Campbell Francis Smith. Her sponsor is Ed Greenleaf, who's been in the club for about a year himself. So now today, she becomes a member of Rotary, but she's also a new mom. She adopted a child from DSS foster care. Please welcome her. Ray Grant, if you'll step forward. Anybody who's been in this club for a long time knows him also. Take a point just a second. But Ray, he lives in Columbia, obviously. He's retired from Aflac, that's the duck company, in case you don't know it. And he has former club service of 31 years. What club? This club. We were talking the other day about that, and I asked him why in the world I know why he got back in. Debbie McDonald has a lot to do with that. But he made the comment that he had some health issues. And I don't know if his hand was shaking or what, but it embarrassed him. And for that reason, he pulled back and he said, do me a favor, tell them don't do that. You know, if you got health issues or if you lose a job or you're down on something else, don't fall back. Come forward. This is family here, and these are people that want to help you through those steps. So we're tickled to death to have you come back. He's a Paul Harris Fellow. He's a President's Club donor. He was very active those years. He's married. His wife's name is Frances. He's got 4 children, got 5 grandchildren, got 1 great-grandchild. His church affiliation is Green Lawn Baptist. And his sponsor, as I said, is Debbie and Jim Smithwick. And his classification is insurance retired. Please welcome.
If I can say one thing.
You can, sure.
Our conversation the other day.
You want this?
No, that's fine. I didn't hear me. If you find out that you have something that you feel uncomfortable with, I have Parkinson's. And it made me draw away. I was ashamed of being told that I had that. First thing I said, God, why me? As everybody does when they get something serious. But I found out that I had more prayers, help, support when I told everybody that I had it. And all you got to do is get a cane. Boy, everybody open the door for me.
Okay, you got to really wonder about this one. David Jameson, step forward, David. David's married. He's just standing beside his wife, Jane. Matter of fact, the first time I ever heard they were married, I said, that's not a marriage, that's a merger. She was Vice President of Human Resources at the University of South Carolina, and he was Executive Director of Rotary, which is what he was when he retired. He is from Greenville initially. He was educated at Presbyterian College, and he got, for his undergrad, he got his master's at USC in public health. His church affiliation is Lake Murray Presbyterian. His hobbies are gun collecting, shooting, working on his farm. He's got 35 years prior service in Rotary. And he had some health issues too. Matter of fact, he just had a catheterization and a stent put in, what, June 30th of this year, I think, but you look great. And the other thing, he's an elder in his church. He's co-chairman of the Finance Committee. He's past chairman of the Columbia Mental Health Center. His classification is going to be state Loretta Act. And his sponsor is obviously his wife, Jane Jameson. Rebecca Jordan. You know what? You're going to hate this, but we'll do it anyway. Ann, come up here and stand with Rebecca. This is her mother. She told me she wasn't going to do that. I said, I'll embarrass you. And you'll know in a minute why I'm having her stand up here. But Rebecca is married. Her husband is Tim. You pronounce that Young Island, okay, where their home is. She is the executive director for the American Red Cross, if I'm not mistaken, the Blood Services Division.
The chapter.
Huh?
The whole chapter.
The whole chapter, right, for that. And by the way, we've had a couple of people that have had that same job in years past, and we're thrilled to have you. But well, let me go ahead and tell you the rest of this first. She got her undergrad at University of South Carolina in psychology. She got her master's in public health at University of South Carolina. She, for the last 15 years, she served as executive director for 3 nonprofits. From 2000 to 2006, she was with the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. From 2006 to 2014, she was with the ALS Association, South Carolina chapter, also a founder. And in 2015, she joined the American Red Cross. In addition to those roles, she served on various boards, including the Augusta ALS Clinic Board and Community Health Charities Secretary, and the ALS Association National Veterans Affairs Committee. Her hobbies include photography, animal rescue. This is true, but somehow it sounded funny when I said her family is my 3 dogs and my husband. Now, let me tell you why our mother's here, okay? Her dad was a member of this club, Al Estefano. He joined in 1984, and I think he had about 23 years of service, if I'm not mistaken. He was a partner at some point with Bob Milling, who's a member of this club. And what am I leaving out? What else should I say? Oh, he was born in Cuba, right. Matter of fact, those of you that have been in the club, you'd know Al Hartley, because he walked in here, he was tall like me. Well, I'm not tall, but he was short. And he was always smiling, and never, if it's a joke to be said, he knew it, he was going to tell it to you. We're just delighted he was in this club, and delighted to have you in. Please welcome her. Tony Stidham. Tony is, matter of fact, I met Tony, I don't know, a few years back, and worked at Rotary Food Service, I think, but he lives in Chapin. He's self-employed, got his own consulting company. He's got, why not, previous Rotary service of 3 years, but his Rotary service was in Greenwood, if I'm not mistaken. It was the Emerald Rotary Club. He's a graduate of Strongthorne High School. He got his undergrad at Clemson, his master's in Carolina, and he pulls for Clemson football, because I asked him. He was president of JC's in North Augusta years ago. He's a board member of Habitat for Community in Greenwood, South Carolina. Proposed by Jerry Smith. We haven't got his classification worked out yet, but proposed by Jerry Smith. Please welcome him into the club. And last but not least, Jimmy Williamson. Better known as Jim, and you know, Ann made an interesting comment a while ago. This is not just your ordinary. He's not really. He's a member of Rotary right now in Cheraw, but he's an immediate past district governor, so it's a little bit different. He's been in Rotary and certainly knows a lot about it. He's married. His wife's name's Kim. He has 2 boys, Jordan 27, Jake 17. Their address is still Cheraw, 3rd Street. His employer is South Carolina Technical College System, where he's the president and the CEO. And we've had Jim Morrison, Jim Hudgens, a number of people have had that job over the years, and they've all done well. His office is over at Executive Center Drive. His birthplace was Hartsville, South Carolina. He was educated at Winthrop University for his undergrad and his master's, and he got his PhD at the University of South Carolina. His church affiliation is Methodist. His hobbies are reading, exercise, boating, cooking. He's got his service, he has 19 years previous Rotary service. Kingstree from August of '96 until August of '03. Cheraw from August of '03 until present. And now, of course, he'll be a member here. And his sponsors are Ann Walker and Mark Sullivan. And his classification, State Technical System, and we welcome you aboard. If I could get y'all to turn around and face me for just a minute, I just want to say a couple words to you. You know, 125 years of prior service. I know you didn't have time to add it. That's what we got today, joining this club. But that says something, I think, good about the club. I think it says something good about the leadership of the club as well as the membership committee and what they're doing. That's a big club. And you're going to go make up at other clubs around the town, and you're going to see people, and you're going to introduce yourself, and you're going to say, what club are you in? And they're going to say Columbia. And that's what's going to happen for a while. But the longer you're in it, and the more involved you get, the smaller it gets, and the more you'll enjoy it. I've given an example for years that this club is a lot like a church. If you go to the 11 o'clock service every Sunday and you don't go to the men's club, or you're not in a small group, or a Sunday school class, or ladies circle, or something else, eventually you're going to get out because you're not going to be involved. Same thing here. We've got a lot of committees, 41 committees. We've got a lot of ways you can become involved and things you want to do. There certainly isn't time to tell you that today, but we will tell you, and we'll tell you at a fireside chat that'll happen sometime, I guess, in the next 4 or 5 weeks. I don't think they've got the date on that yet. But you'll be invited to come, bring your spouse. You hear about the history of Rotary, you hear about these committees, you hear about you can be a part, but mainly I want you to know that we're just thrilled to death that you joined us today. Thank you.
Great job, Bob. We're very happy to have all of you in the club. And we'll look forward to the fireside chat. It's going to be on November 9th, and we'll have more information coming to you all about that. We're now going to do a Rotary History Minute. Past President Roger Stroop is going to share with us some information about our club.
Thank you, President Mark. One of the benefits of being in the Columbia Rotary Club is the quality of the speakers and the information they provide about issues and concerns from the local level to the international scene. Over the years, the club has hosted many interesting and famous speakers. In 1923, Billy Sunday, who you see here, was a baseball player in the 1880s, but more importantly, Jack, can you move it one? More importantly, he was a leading evangelist in the first half of the 20th century. Was a guest speaker here. He was a leading proponent of prohibition and a force in the successful passage of the 18th Amendment. In 1949, the up-and-coming speaker was evangelist from Charlotte, Billy Graham, spoke to the club. South Carolina political figures are frequent speakers at the club. During their long political careers, both Senators Thurman and Hollings were frequent speakers. Currently, Congressman Clyburn and Wilson come, as well as Senator Graham and Scott, update the club frequently on issues in Washington. Additionally, we are kept current on issues in South Carolina by our city governors, who usually make at least a couple of visits to the club during their time in office. Other earlier political figures who were speakers included Jimmy Burns, who was Assistant President, Supreme Court Justice, and Governor, Olin V. Johnson, who was Governor, as well as Senator, and Cotton Ed Smith in the 1930s, who almost was served as long as Thurman. I'm sorry I don't have a picture of him riding in on a cotton bale, which is how he went to political rallies. Other notable speakers over the years included William F. Buckley Jr., nationally syndicated columnist Drew Pearson, seen here with then Senator Lyndon Johnson. In 2006, Senator Joe Biden visited, seen here with Ann Walker. One of our largest meetings was several years ago when former First Lady Barbara Bush visited the club, and on a number of occasions, at least twice, Senator McCain was here. We also frequently have speakers from collegiate and professional sports programs. The only Rotary International president I could find who spoke to our club was in 1957 when Rotary President Paolo Lango of Italy was here. Some other interesting programs through the years included a presentation in 1925 by Dr. Charles A. Payne of Yellowstone National Park, illustrated by lantern slides. This is the first illustrated program I found. In 1927, one program featured a photo of the president of Rotary International. Not terribly exciting until you know that the photo was transmitted by telephone line from Chicago to Atlanta. We take advantage of our cell phones too much today. In 1937, 2 movies on highway safety were shown in the club, the first mention of a program using movies. And I'll conclude with probably one of our most unusual programs that happened a number of times in the early 1980s. Walker Clark of Joseph Walker and Company, Cotton Factors, presented a program featuring the Maid of Cotton, always an attractive young lady who presented a fashion show of the latest ladies' cotton fashions for the then all-male Rotary Club.
We'll transition our program now to our speaker, and to introduce today's speaker, we have Libby Gober.
Thank you, President Mark. I have been asked to give a minute or two blurb about myself, as we have been doing, which I think is an excellent opportunity for some of us to introduce ourselves to the club. And I don't think that I need much introduction because I think I know most of you. I have very little to offer. I'm a public servant, and that doesn't sound exciting. I serve as assistant to Columbia City Council. not the mayor, the other 6. And they can be a challenge. Since none of them are here, I can say that they can be a challenge. And I also administer, this is where I get to know most of you, is that I administer the money that the city gives out. The accommodations tax, which we have our chairperson of the accommodations tax, Mr. Hal Stevenson, in our club, and the hospitality tax, and we do have several members of the hospitality tax committee in our club. And also there's some general fund community promotions money that we give out, which some of you are recipients of. So, I know that sounds so simple, so what keeps me so busy? I have been, and like I said, I am a public servant, so if you ever need anything affiliated with the city, I know most of you already do this, but I would say you can certainly call me. I have no more money to give out for this year, so I'll make that perfectly clear for those of you on the edge of your seats. There is no more money for this year. I have been a member of this club since '04, and I truly do wish that my dear, dear friend Jack Van Loan was here. He is the one who literally bugged me for several years until I became a member, because my first thought was, like a lot of people, I don't have time, I can't do that. It won't fit on my calendar, I can't do it, I can't do it. Well, it's one of the greatest decisions I've ever made, and I can say that honestly. And for those of you coming in today, well, some of you have more Rotary experience than most of us all put together. But I will say it is rewarding. It's very rewarding. But I will also say you need to be involved. Bob Crutchfield spoke eloquently on this. If you're not involved and you don't get committees, different socials that we have, and different things that we have, the functions that we have, it just brings us together. It's the camaraderie that I really like about Rotary. Plus, I utilize my time, so many of you that I need to see professionally, I can see here and we can take a minute and we can just run on, so it's very rewarding. But I can't say enough about Rotary, and I do thank my dear friend, Jack Van Loan, for getting me involved in this. And once you get it on your calendar, you can tell those people who tell you they don't have time that once you get it on your calendar and you become accustomed to it, I don't know what I would do on Mondays at lunch, Mark. I'd have to call you and go to lunch, I guess, if we didn't have and I do thank you for the privilege that I do serve on the board this year. And I do thank all of you for your vote of confidence and for the privilege of doing that. I did serve as foundation chair one year. That in and of itself is a challenge. So, but it can be fun. It can be fun. And I am so very proud of Adam as our membership chair. So thank you, Adam. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce someone who needs no introduction here, because like so many of us, so many of the people who were just inducted, Wayne Fields has been a member of this club for quite some time. And I could literally use the rest of our time for today if I went over all the accolades that I probably should mention about Wayne. But since most of us do know him, I will just say that Wayne serves as CEO of the Oliver Gospel Mission. He has spent 25 years in nonprofit leadership. 14 of those years have been with Oliver Gospel Mission. And I can tell you honestly that I support Oliver Gospel Mission personally. And I have for many years, and that's another rewarding thing that you could be involved in. So I'm an advocate for them, absolutely. Wayne has published nine-volume devotional series. Wayne is chairman of the board of directors of Beyond the Diamond, a program targeting at-risk youth through sports, which I think that has a unique thing to it. I'm an advocate for that also. He received his undergraduate degree from Rutgers University and his master's from Lancaster Bible College. He is married to his wife Joyce of 38 years. They have 3 adult children and 3 grandchildren. I will ask you to help me welcome our speaker today, Wayne Fields.
Good afternoon, everyone. Those introductions are great because they tell you all this stuff that's really meaningless to most of the people here. My wife and I moved here 14 years ago. 14 years ago, the week after 9/11. And in fact, I became a member of Rotary 13 years ago. The late Bob Calgren was my sponsor. So I've been a member of this Rotary for quite a while. I want to do a recognition here of some of you before I get started. How many of you in this room are either involved with an organization that helps people in need, are on a board of such an organization, or you're a supporter of such an effort. If you fit any of those categories, why don't you stand up? Stand up. And just give yourselves a hand. And I do that to remind you that it's a real team effort. There are a lot of good work going on to help people in need here in the Columbia area. And we have found the community of Columbia to be very supportive, not only of the efforts of Oliver Gospel Mission, but of the other efforts of some of these organizations as well. And I could get a number of you to get up and share some of your stories and your situation as well. But nonetheless, after talking about all those other people that have spoken or come to Rotary, I feel like, okay, then Wayne Fields here comes to talk about Oliver Gospel Mission. That's been here 127 years. We're the 6th oldest rescue mission in the whole country. But more important than how old we are is what we do. And so what I'm going to do, I did this last time I was here, I'm going to give you some information. I'm going to divide this presentation into a couple of parts. The first part is just to tell you what we're presently doing. And a lot of people are hearing about the Women's Center that's coming, and it is coming. But we're also working with men. So I want to kind of give you some information, and I'll ask you to remember certain facts, because as I did last time, we're giving out prizes at the end. We have 5 prizes to give for those people who remember the facts that I give you here. First of all, our vision. The vision of Oliver Gospel Mission is to glorify God by facilitating life transformation among the broken and homeless so that they can radically enhance the community. And that's a big mouthful, but I want you to remember 2 facts there. One is transformation. There are lots of agencies around that do good work, but our focus, our niche, is we're helping the people we serve get their lives transformed for eternity. So one thing you need to remember, it'll come back to you, is transformation. So the major focus of Oliver Gospel Mission is transformation. Got that? Okay, the second thing is the result of our efforts in helping with transformation is we want to help the people that we serve to radically enhance the community. So, what's the first thing? Transformation. The second thing? Radically enhance the community. And that's a big statement. We're not here to help people to continue to live dysfunctional lives that drain on the community and drain on society. We're here to help them to become a part of the solution and not to continue to be a part of the problem. So transformation, radically enhance the community. We have a long-term focus on the people that we serve. Long-term. That's really important. And 2 of the ways that we're doing that, number one, last year we had 41 men who got jobs who brought in over $700,000 of income that generated in this community for this economy. So we're helping people that were doing nothing, that were a drain on society, to get jobs so that they are becoming tax-paying members of society that are benefiting the community economically. So remember that. How much money? $767,000 generated by those people, those men who got jobs here in the Columbia area last year. That's huge. Over 40 men that do that, and they're continuing to get jobs. So, what's the first fact? Transformation. The second one? The third one? $767,000. That's huge. And people can talk about what they're doing, but we're helping people to really make a positive difference in what we're doing at Oliver Gospel Mission. Okay, so that's 3. Number 4, because we're long-term, we have an aftercare program. In other words, we stay in touch with the men that we're serving so that we can encourage them, challenge them, hold them accountable, get them connected with churches in the area. Right now, we have 54 men that are involved in aftercare. And some of those are involved in a mentoring program, and one of the mentoring groups is F3, that's doing a lot with some of our men. So how many men do we have in aftercare? 54. 54 men. $767,000 of generated money in the community, radically enhancing the community and transformation. So there are 4 facts to remember at the end. We'll come back to that at the end. So you need to be reminded, everyone's hearing, you're going to hear more
I ran
about...
away from home.
Who was that? I didn't know she was here. Look at that. Many of you have heard about what we're going to do with the Women's Center, but remember, we're still working with men. And the efforts that we're making with men gives us credibility for working with women and children, the fastest growing segment of homelessness in the whole country. And so that's what we're doing. One of the things you'll find out about at the end, we have a table set up outside. I'm going to try to finish early today. So if you want to go out to the table, you can find out more about some of the things that we're doing. We're actually having employers to become part of employer roundtables. They're trying to work with us to help men who have felonies to be able to get jobs. It's really hard for someone to get a job if they have a felony on their record. So if any of you are interested, if you have companies and businesses and you want to sign up for that, you can do that at the end on our table out there in the lobby. So there are 4 facts to remember that we'll come back to. The next thing is, where is the mission going? Many of you have heard about, and some of you were at our recent gala that we had at Brookland Conference Center. The fastest growing segment, again, of homelessness in the country is homeless women and homeless women with children. And so about 4 years ago, the board of directors and myself decided that we really wanted to embark in that direction. One of our board members, Jim Hudson, gave us a piece of land. We were able to get that land zoned, and we have put drawings together. We're in a capital campaign to raise money for the new Women and Children's Center. The name of this center, and this is the next fact, this is number 5, is Toby's Place. Those of you who know the Castles family, they lost their son Toby tragically. They came to us and they wanted to carry on his legacy by giving a contribution to a charity. And they chose to give a large contribution to Oliver Gospel Mission, specifically for the Women and Children's Center. And they asked us in doing that if we would name it after their son Toby, and so it's called Toby's Place. So the ministry to homeless women and children is called Toby's Place. Toby's Place, 54 men in aftercare, $767,000, generated an income because men are getting jobs, radically enhance the community, and transformation. They're the 5 facts I want you to remember later. What we're going to do right now is show a video about our ministry to homeless women and children.
When I was 15, because my stepfather was sexually abusing me. I survived on the streets, if you want to call it that, by pairing up with different guys for protection. But there was always a sexual expectation and violence if I refused.
I became homeless because my mom lost her public housing for drinking. So we all got kicked out. And we had to live on the streets.
If the only thing that happens to you in your life is you just keep getting hurt, you end up thinking, if I can't handle the reality of life, why not end it all then? At least I'd know I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore.
I became homeless because I lost my apartment. My husband had beat me a lot. He left me with no money for groceries, nothing. I used to think I was a strong woman.
It's tough enough trying to get by with nothing, but when you got kids, it's a whole different story. Making your kids brush their teeth or wash themselves in a nasty public bathroom is too much. No kid should have to do that. No mom should have to see that.
You just give up. As soon as you get to that stage where you don't care if you live or die, you end up so upset, so depressed, so hurt with everything that you just can't handle even the day in front of you.
They're your children's classmates in school. She's the cashier at the grocery store. she's the new woman in your Sunday school class. The hidden homeless epidemic is real, and it's not just in a certain part of town. Women with and without children are the fastest rising demographic of the homeless population. Yet our community is largely unaware of the growing need, lurking just beyond our perception. The causes are obvious: poverty, domestic abuse, physical or mental health issues. Many are hesitant or ashamed to seek the help they so desperately need. Many who seek help discover that the demand far exceeds the opportunities for help. Local women's shelters have to turn away 10 to 20 women and children a day due to lack of facilities and space. For the women and the future faces of our community, the Midlands needs additional shelters and programs that will help women and children escape homelessness now and break the vicious cycle of generational homelessness. The Oliver Gospel Mission's Women and Children's Growth Center will help meet this drastic need now and in the future. For over 125 years, Oliver Gospel Mission has been rescuing and rebuilding lives with a mission to see that the broken and homeless are sheltered, given the gospel of Jesus Christ, and equipped to live responsibly. In 2011, Oliver Gospel Mission saw a growing need for services in our community for homeless women and homeless women with children, and thus was born a vision for a new shelter and program to serve our community's hidden homeless. With the help of our generous community, Oliver Gospel Mission will build and operate this new center with an emphasis on transforming lives empowered by the gospel of Jesus Christ, equipping the women to live responsibly and become part of the solution, not the problem, helping and encouraging restoration in relationships, helping women to enter careers that will compensate them adequately to sustain secure housing, breaking the generational homeless cycle. The center will employ a holistic approach in helping them with life skills needed for responsible living, including financial management, education assistance, and pre-employment assistance. Our vision is to help facilitate life transformation so that broken and homeless women and children might radically enhance the community. As we embark on this challenge, we will not only impact the female population, but more importantly, their children, as we attempt to break the generational homeless cycle. We will be helping to provide these families with hope, both for eternity and for an improved quality of life now and for generations to come. We're asking you to prayerfully consider partnering with us to break the generational cycle of homelessness.
So that's what the plan is, and obviously this film is usually used for fundraising, so we're not asking you to give money today, but we've made we've made some real strides. It is a big project. It's a $10 million project, and we're getting there. We're close. We're hoping to break ground early next year for this project. But the real emphasis, as you heard several times in that video, is to help break the generational homeless cycle. And those of you who help people in need, you know it just gets passed on from one generation to the next. And if we can get to these mothers and some of these kids, there can be some hope that they can have so they don't have to repeat the cycle. These kids, a lot of them have given up any hope of ever graduating high school by the time they get to be 11, 12 years old. And so if they can just have some stability, and we can help the moms to learn how to do some basic things in raising a family and working with their children, that can really help to make a positive difference. So that's what our plan is for homeless women and homeless women with children. Obviously that will be called Toby's Place, and there's some 4 other facts that I gave you as well. But are there any questions before I quiz you on the facts that I gave you? Yes, Elliot.
Wayne, are you working with other organizations like Sister Care to transition from those at-risk situations? Are they going there first before they come to y'all?
Yeah, what we're doing, Elliot, his question is, are we trying to work together with other agencies? We actually have had several meetings. In fact, we have a lunch meeting coming up in October. We're inviting all the agencies to come to find out more of what they're doing, but also to update them about what we're trying to do. And we're working right now trying to develop some partnerships because we can't do this whole thing. This women and children's thing is huge. And so that's something we're really working at. We don't want to assume that just because you build it, they will come. And so we're really working on that. Other questions? Yes? Yeah.
I noticed you said, or you said 34 units. And what's the average amount of, is there a typical tenure time? I mean, when I hear 34 units, I think, is that even a drop in the bucket?
Several questions you just threw out there. One, I'm not sure we can limit it to right now to how many units. The architects are still working on this. But at this point, we're thinking if this was filled up, we could probably house 70 to 80 people, which would be huge. It'd be more than anything anybody else is doing right now in terms of capacity. More importantly, we want to do a great job with the people that we do serve, and they could stay there as long as 2 years. And that 2 years could be great stability. And we're also going to have some apartments that we're going to build on the campus too, so some of the women who graduate who have kids can actually set up a home and run a household for a while before they go out on their own.
Is that going to be the place on Garner's Ferry that used to be the...
No, it's not Garner's Ferry. It's not Garner's Ferry. I remember the article went in the newspaper. Some person was really worried. I can't tell where it's going to be. We're trying to protect the women and children who will be a part of this, but it won't be on Garner's Ferry Road. Okay. And it won't be in the city of Columbia. You know we wouldn't get zoning approval. You know that. Yes, Ann?
Like, as you know, on all these programs, sustainability is an issue. Once you get the women in there, what about financial sustainability? How will they pay some portion once they go to work, or what's your plan?
Ann's question is financial sustainability. One of the things we're building into our campaign, Ann, is 3 years of operating cost that will help us from the standpoint of operating this thing. Because I've seen too many situations where people build it and they can't keep it operating. And so the board of directors is ecstatic that we're including that in there. The women will not be paying us any money to stay there. If they ever do have an apartment on campus, then they would pay a program fee once they have jobs. But they will not be paying us any because they don't have anything. So we don't have anything to get from them. They don't have anything to give us.
So after that 3 years, I mean, if you use up that 3 years, what's the,
This campaign's been going 2 years already. So typically when you have a campaign like this, you generate new supporters that you didn't have before, and this gives us a good amount of time to do that. By the time things build, we'll have been on this campaign for 3 years. And so we're seeing a lot of new donors come on as a result of that. Other questions? Yes?
We've got mothers bringing children into the center here as part of the game plan. Will you be working with the school districts to arrange transportation for those kids to and from school?
Yes, the kids that are school age, yes, we'll be setting up some meetings with the school district soon where this is. Preschool kids, are trying to create a partnership with another agency so that preschool kids can be doing something during the day while their mothers are in programs with us. Yes, Hal?
Wayne, can you speak to the percentage of mental health problems that you deal with across both populations, just a number? That's
really hard. Probably most of us in here probably have mental health issues of some kind. Ask my wife. But the people that we deal with, the men right now, at some point we determine we've got to connect them with someone else, like Mercy or whatever, that deals with more severe mental health issues than we're able to do. It's really hard to answer that question because you have to take it case by case, which is really the way we're going to try to handle the women and children that come in. Carrie and I sit down and try to say, oh, we're going to do this for everybody. You can't do that for everybody. And so we're going to try to take them case by case and how we handle their various situations. We're trying to set up a partnership with Midlands Tech, for instance. After they're in the program for a year, the second year they're going to have to get on a track to hopefully get employment that can help sustain them financially, so they end up going back out in Section 8 housing, which is horrible. And so they end up in worse shape than they were, because that's where gangs, violence, drug activity, all those things take place. So I call them communities of need. There's about 50 of them in Columbia. And that's where we don't want them to go back to. So our whole idea, just as it is with men, to help them to go deeper so they can make it longer. Other questions? Great questions. I think this ministry will help the whole community in a whole different way than what we're doing with men. I want to go back to our quiz. I had 5 questions. Then I'm going to come back to you. When the first person to stand up and give us an answer gets a gift. If you miss it, sit down. Sorry. You don't get to go do it again. You can only get one. You only get 1 prize. And it's not a $100 gift certificate, I'm sorry. But it is a bit of a prize. I started by giving you our vision statement. Our vision statement included a couple facts, but one of them, what is the main focus of the work of Oliver Gospel Mission? First person to have a stand up. Okay, Ann, you get it. Ann gets it.
Give it to somebody else.
I'm sorry, Ann, you got it. Ann gets the first booby prize.
I'm in the nonprofit world, so this is the second.
No, that's okay. She really needs it. Okay. Second thing, I told you what the name of the Center for Homeless Women and Children. Okay.
Toby's Place.
Toby's Place. You got it.
That's right.
The next thing I told you is how many men we have in our aftercare program.
54.
I just heard.
Raise your hand.
You gotta stand up. I'm sorry, Hal gets it. 54. I told you that ultimately what we're trying to do in this transformation is to help people to do what?
Reintegrate.
No, I didn't say that. Come on. Stand up, somebody.
Radically enhance the community.
You got it. Okay. And there's one more. We told you about how much money is generated by men getting jobs as a result.
$767,000.
Yeah, she got it. Right here. You got it. You get number 5. I encourage you, I'm going to close up now. We have a table out there for those of you who have time, in which if you're an employer and you'd be interested in becoming a part of an employer roundtable to help some of our men to get jobs that have felonies on their record. We also have a golf tournament coming up. You can find out more about that. And you can also, if you're interested in being a mentor or anything else you want to find out, Beth and Carrie will be out there to answer your questions and to help you out all we can. I'm on time. Yes. Any final questions? Sorry. Thank you again for many of you.
Wayne, thank you for being here. We're honored to have you in the club. We're honored to have you here today. So, good to see you. We do have a couple of announcements here before we adjourn. President-elect John, tell us what's coming up.
Next week, we have somebody that I call the Republican guru of the state, Caton Dawson, former chairman of the Republican Party here, almost really messed up. He will be here, and he's agreed to talk a little bit about the Trump factor in the upcoming elections. So I think it'll be really interesting. He said, I can promise you, he's a former member of our club, by the way. He said, I promise you I'll really entertain the group. So I hope you'll come, bring all of your political experts to the meeting next week.
Great, we look forward to that, John. One other announcement, October 12th, so 2 weeks from today, we have a social coming up. Jesse Bullard and Robert Goings have lined up Doc's Barbecue for an October 12th event. Go ahead and pull out your phone, put it on your calendar right now. 5 o'clock at Doc's Barbecue. We'll have food, beer and wine, and it doesn't cost you anything. You've already paid for it. So October 12th from 5 to 7. More information on it coming up.
Mark, can you have the new inductees stand by the piano so people can greet them as they leave?
Absolutely. And a reminder about October 12th, we will not meet here for lunch. The meeting that day will be at Doc's Barbecue on Shop Road at 5 o'clock. Carrie?
Is it on the 15th or is it on the 12th?
12th.
The slide said the 15th.
Okay.
It's October 12th, Monday,
Okay, so
October
it's Monday
12th.
the 12th.
Monday the 12th.
Sorry, folks. Not Thursday.
We'll get more information out about it. October 12th, Monday, 5 o'clock. And past President Bob made a good point. If all the new members that we have here today, if you'd stand by the piano as we leave, we can shake your hand and say hello. We're glad to have all of you here. Please stand and we'll close with a song.